we must constantly look at things in a different way.
The Healthcare Education Transformation Podcast was created by two physical therapists out of the desire to learn more about the different educational roles in physical therapy and healthcare, and how healthcare education works by talking with educational leaders and people with different perspectives within physical therapy and across interdisciplinary lines on how education can be improved to disrupt the status quo of healthcare education. This is our journey, and thanks for listening. Are you a third-year physical therapy student that excels on tests when you have study guides, checklists, and deadlines? With all of the information available about how to prepare for the NPTE, it's easy to get disorganized and not feel prepared going into the big day. NPTE Prep Success is an online course that provides PT students easy-to-use study guides and step-by-step guidance through the NPTE preparation. To learn more, visit kylericeprep.com. Thank you again all for your continued support, and now for the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Healthcare Education Transformation Podcast. I'm your host, F. Scott Field, and I'm with my co-host, Brandon Pone, and we are coming live from SSPT Live down in Clearwater Beach, Florida. We have for you a great story today of trials and tribulations in a physical therapy career. We have today with us Katrina Kneeskern.
Thank you guys for having me, first of all. Honor and a pleasure. I grew up in Minnesota, and I originally actually was a dance major, musical theater minor in New York City for 2.5 years. I was there during 9/11, though, and I became very unhealthy and had some sickness and went home and reevaluated my life and kind of my purpose and decided I wanted to go into physical therapy. So I got my undergrad at College of St. Catherine in Minnesota in psychology, and then I got my doctorate in physical therapy St. Kate's before starting working, and currently now 10 years after graduating in 2008, I am now in my fellowship for my FAAOMPT, my FAAOMPT, through the Spinal Manipulation Institute. So my education is pursuing even further as far as other education.
You were actually one of those clinicians like myself who considered fellowship much later.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about that. What went through that decision making when you decided, yeah, now's the time. I'm ready to do this.
Well, that goes into part of all the trials and tribulations that I've been through. I don't know if you guys are ready for that.
Let's do it. Let's jump right into the bumps along the way, the bumps in the road, the trials and tribulations of your career and your journey.
So it even started back, so as I told you, I got sick in New York City. I was hospitalized out there and probably should have died. But by the grace of God, I did not. And in PT school, as we all know, anyone who's listening to this, is pretty darn stressful. And so I kind of had a little relapse at the end of PT school. My last semester, I had to take a medical leave of absence. So I ended up graduating late and also kind of being sick through PT school and feeling like I had left the dance world and left my passion and wanting to be passionate about physical therapy, but being up and down and not fully present. So I ended up graduating late, and I got recruited down to Tucson, Arizona by Health South, and I got an amazing sign-on bonus and 401k matching and tuition reimbursement, and it was this great opportunity to finally be warm and not in Minnesota, and I was just going to do 2 years and check it out. And so since I graduated late, I'd already started having to pay my loans, and I graduated September. And then I took my boards in October and had already bought a car and an apartment because I had flown down earlier and based on that, a PT salary. And at that time, I think the scores were mailed to you, or either it took like 6 weeks to find out. So I had moved down there, transition was going, and I woke up the next morning and checked because they came up at like 6 a.m. And I don't know what it is now, but you need 600 to pass, and it was out of 800.
Correct.
And all it told me though was pass or fail, and it said fail. And I had just moved across country to a town I didn't know anyone for a job and made all these choices and decisions based on that. And so my work was so understanding, and they're like, this happens all the time. You'll just work as a rehab tech until you take it again. Like, don't worry, you're not the first one. They had other people, and that kind of made me feel good, but I've always struggled with test taking. I have ADHD. I don't sit well. I don't read off of a screen well. I speak well, and I do hands-on well. But I struggled with self-confidence my whole life and self-doubt, and then kind of being sick through PT school, feeling that imposter syndrome, like I just survived it versus, not really passing it. Mm-hmm. And so I bought my results, found out I got 585. And if you divide how many questions, each question's worth 30 points, so I missed it by less than a question. I bought my results, focused really hard on the areas that, I did the poorest, and then I took it again, I think, right away in November. At that time, you could take it every month. Mm-hmm. With Arizona, you could only take it 2 times before having to pay the whole application fee again, though. And 2, the cost of paying for these tests as well. So I studied, and then I took it again, waited for the results, failed. Bought my results again, 595.
Oh, gosh, so close.
And here I am making $14 an hour, again, car and apartment, feeling like everyone's looking down on me, not fitting in. I always kind of have a hard time fitting in. I don't know. I'm super sensitive. And even though I'm an extrovert, I'm sort of an introvert. I was picked on my whole life growing up. Even in PT school, I'd asked to be in study groups, and the girls said no. And so, because I don't know. So that I was just heartbroken, and I had to buy my results again. So luckily, and I was just bawling at work one day, and this older PT took me under her wing, and she was had used to be an engineer, and she was a master test taker. And she was like, you're not dumb. She goes, it's about learning how to take the test. You need to learn how to take the test. And I know I'm a good test taker. And so we broke out, and instead of going right back into it, we put the date far out, 3-month date. We broke down each unit in advance. I studied. She would meet with me on her own time after work, one-on-one mentoring, and practice questioning me on each of the sections, how the questions would be. And 2, I invested in buying a lot of practice tests. So instead of studying, I was just taking tests. It was test. And then so finally I took it again and pass. 3 times the pass. But it took me 8 months working down there. So it was a lesson. It taught me a lot of respect for the rehab techs down there, because they really use and abuse them, and they treated me like crap. Even though I was a PT, and they knew I was a PT, so I was always super nice to the tech. So everything happens for a reason. And then I started being like, okay, now I can finally breathe. I worked 2 jobs through PT school. I finally could not study. I never watched TV. I was like, I could go to work and watch TV. I could maybe have a social life, instead of working all the time. But then that fear of that time to catch up financially and pay off my loans, I did end up working overtime every Saturday and paid off my student loans in 4 years, but then I was broaching burnout. And so I started first 2 years in inpatient rehab, was really burning out, and then I went to outpatient for 5 years down there. So for 7 years, I was with this hospital-based company, starting to feel burnout periodically through those phases, craving more mentorship, wanting to get more sports and orthopedic backgrounds. And so wanting to get more sports and orthopedic backgrounds, but not having any guidance or the patient population. So huge retiree population down there, and not a lot of motivated people. I love Tucson. It taught me how to relax. It was really sunny, but low economic status and a lot of people with that hasta mañana attitude. And so I was feeling kind of stagnant professionally. So I did explore life. I got certified in Kundalini Yoga, and I decided to train for a marathon. I ran my first marathon, and, I explored other opportunities. And I did take a lot of courses. I did a lot of John F. Barnes, myofascial work, trying my best to do what I could. But it was chronic pain patient population. A lot of TBI, stroke, and there's nothing wrong with that. But in PT school, I kind of wanted to be a dance PT. And then had a couple serious relationships, didn't work out. And after that last one, God was calling me to move back to Minnesota. My nieces, I moved back right before they turned 5 and 8, and I haven't been blessed with a family of my own. And it's just my sister and I, and that was my opportunity to be, I'm cool Aunt Kiki. So I get to be like very involved with their lives as my aunts were to me. So I moved back to Minnesota about 3 years ago. Again, I'm a planner, so I went, I interviewed, I found a good job, I found an apartment, I did everything planned out. I bought a new car that could endure Minnesota winters, so SUV.
It's going to be an intense one.
Yeah, and remote starter and seat heaters. Like, that's what I have. So I'm moving to Minnesota and doing that. And I got an apartment, too, based on this really nice salary. I found a great, ideal job. And I moved back, and I was super excited. And there was this, 8-week training program that they took me through. And they were just, calling off all these muscles and palpation. And I'm very open and honest and expressive. And I was like, we never called out the names. We would just say upper trap, levator. You know what I mean? We didn't really identify specific muscles. We would say, oh, we worked on their quads. And even though I knew it, I was like, oh gosh, I have to review this. I learned this stuff 10 years ago. I'd just be joking about it, but I didn't know how competitive and networky and cliquey Minnesota was. So Minnesota does have the best of the best healthcare, and that's part of why I wanted to move back. Is they have the Minnesota Dance Medicine Foundation, they have the Mayo Clinic, so everyone around them steps up their game. Everyone also is a super overachiever in Minnesota, so everyone has their OCS and SCS and their FAAOMPT. They have all these letters after their name, which doesn't necessarily make you a better clinician, but they are super motivated, and I knew I'd be pushed out of my comfort zone, which I need to do, otherwise I won't. We have to find people that elevate us.
Sure. You feel like you found your tribe now?
I do. I'd only worked one job. They paid for me to move down there. I was gold in Tucson. And then I kept applying to all these jobs to try to branch out more. And I ended up working per diem at a lot of different places and interviewing because I want to find a good fit. And it actually worked out because the place I worked, I was ending up with thoracic outlet syndrome, and it didn't work very well. But I was doing doctor shadows. I was networking. I even tried to start my own practice with a chiropractor, and that didn't work. But I found out one of the head people from that company had started rumors about me, was a dance therapist, and basically said I was unprofessional. This is why I got laid up. I was unprofessional for telling the dancers I was a dancer and telling my dance background, and that it was not well received by the dancers when I was trying to relate to the patients and give them credibility so that they would trust me, establish trust. So I worked per diem for a year, and then I ended up in Life Clinic, physical therapy and chiropractic, which I wouldn't have chosen voluntarily. It's a commission-based job, and it forced me to learn how to market and network myself. So I'm basically running my own practice, and I struggled, but I succeeded. I prevailed, but I was working 6 days a week, and I have no life. I eat, sleep, breathe this to give above and beyond care. And so I started seeking mentors. I had a great mentor who hired me, Dr. J, who believed in me. And also my best friend is a PT, started her own business, believed in me as well. And that gave me hope to keep pushing. And I paid for tons of continuing education. I was investing myself. And then I started researching cash-based PT. Started listening to podcasts, Paul Goff, Aaron LeBauer, Greg Todd, and starting investing in Audible books. And started putting time and energy into my ears to change my knowledge and continue my education and skills that they don't teach you in PT school. They teach the chiropractors how to market themselves. They don't teach PTs, which is why I didn't know what I was doing, and I was succeeding, but by a thread. And so I've been there for 2 years, and then I recently took Greg Todd's Smart Success PT course. I was in season 5, and that just catapulted my whole level of thinking. And the more knowledge that I've gained, the more I am realizing what the potentials of physical therapy is. The more I learn about cash-based PT, and even being in Life Clinic, learning about the reality of reimbursement and where our profession is going. And it's reignited my passion for my fellowship. And that is why I decided to go for my fellowship is I am advertising for people to pay up to like $210 an hour for cash. So if I'm advertising to be the best of the best, I better be the best of the best. And also, like, ethically, like, I want to get people better and faster and know more. And with education, anything that you feel you are lacking, I used to just beat myself up and accept that as my truth. Or when people would make those judgments or spread rumors. I had one of the dance PTs tell a head person I was like stalking her, so I was blocked from being hired at 2 major companies in the Twin Cities because I was reaching out saying, "Oh, can I shadow you? I'm interested in dance medicine." And there's just so much lack of collaboration. It shocked me because for me, if everybody wins, then that's awesome. And it's about the patient. If we can help people and help each other to get the patients better, yay! Everybody wins, thinking abundantly instead of blocking someone or throwing another practitioner under the table. Just because they don't have the experience that you have or the opportunities does not make them stupid. It does not make them less than.
Totally agree.
And so that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm passionate about continuing education, not only in your skill set, but business and professionally. And I have opened my Vitalogy Health and Wellness LLC because of all my health issues. I'm very, very passionate about overall health and wellness, mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual. And I plan to have some online platform to help people not only just get the nutrition down and getting up and going to the gym and getting those healthy systems down, but the psychological as well.
Sleep.
So my thing is HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired. If you're any one of those, there's no way, and you can get by with it when you're younger. You can over-caffeinate, you can have a couple nights off, but just because you don't see what's going on internally, cancer, diabetes, something is being affected. Your body has a stress cut. And everything I do in my life is focused on making sure those baselines are covered so I can be of maximum service to others. And this whole process, the point of all the heartbreaks and letdowns is that no matter what, so if you don't like your current situation, you need to change it. I used to complain a lot, but instead of complaining now, I try to bring a solution and gain a different level of thinking to solve the problem. So my biggest suggestions are find a mentor, surround yourself with people that believe in you and people that level you up. Don't let others' judgments derail you or let it fool you. Don't let it become your truth. And 4 is to take care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually so that you have the resilience, endurance, and clarity to win at life. And the biggest thing is to invest in yourself and always never give up and to reach out. Reach out. There's so many people out there and you are never alone. And there's people that are going through exactly what you're going through. So just don't give up on yourself no matter how many setbacks you have, no matter how many people don't believe in you or shoot you down. Just continue to invest in yourself and change your level of thinking. That will get you out of your current situation if you don't like it.
I love it. No, I think you made so many important goal points in there for anyone to hear, for that matter. And to kind of go a little bit more specific, what have been some things that you've learned from transitioning to from a clinician to a business owner? What are some of the biggest business lessons that you would say you've probably learned that you think probably most students or even early clinicians that are maybe thinking about maybe going the business routes should be aware of?
So the biggest thing is patience. There is no such thing as overnight success. And no matter how successful somebody may look, everybody has fears and doubts. I combined it. I said deers. I am from Minnesota. So the thing, it's kind of what Paul covered today. So I would ramp up really fast. But then you go through the highs and lows. The busier you get, then you lack in other things. And so you have to have systems that set you up for success because you're continually going to trade time for money. And you have to find that balance. My first year at Life Clinic, I almost burnt out. And I actually went through a really dark time. And I actually was almost let go from Life Clinic because I just was living, eat, sleep, and breathing there. And even though I was producing, my mood and my energy and my spirit was gone. because I felt stuck and I felt hopeless. Like, this is it. I'm going to get up and go to the gym, and I'm going to work and then do notes, and then I'm going to market, and I'm going to be single forever and have no life. And this is what it's got to be. And that's not a way to think. You that whole halt, that hungry, angry, lonely, tired, like, if you have to be super honest with yourself. And we do go through phases where, sometimes you do need to put in more effort, but then there needs to be a recovery time. There needs to be transition time. And like I said, the biggest thing is patience. Putting in the relationships and staying true to your morals. I would start to compromise my morals, not like necessarily, but in order to get more patience, or, I was being a people pleaser instead of being authentic. So stay truly authentic to you and never stop growing in your education of different skills that are going to help you. So seek that business mentorship, seek other ways to fill yourself with just the clinical side. And that includes communication, like how to win friends and influence people, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Like, you gotta find what your weaknesses are and address them, because they're not going to go away, and they're going to become more prominent, especially when you're running your own business. And people are everything. Relationships.
Well, Katrina, we'd like to ask each guest this one final question.
Yeah.
If you could change one thing about DPT education or healthcare education in general, what would you change, and how would you change it?
One thing, business and marketing, 150,000%. This is with my deductible $6,500. So people are making healthcare choices the same as they would buying a TV, and it needs to be addressed. And I've done some, as I'm doing my mentorship work in other clinics, and they don't present any, like, one of the things at our clinic, we present all the financials up front. We verify for them and say, hey, this is what it's going to cost. Like, how can we make this work for you? Other places, they're like, oh, I'm in network. They know nothing about their deductibles, their insurances, anything, and they get the bill 6 months later, and they're pissed off. They're so pissed off because they spent all this money and nobody told them.
Or they're paying it up front, knowing full well this is your cost. There's no hidden fees or anything. This is it. It's a little more clear to them, and it's
exactly
easier to make the decision.
But then on that note, saying the business and marketing, if they don't know what PTs are, they're like, well, I'm just going to go to my massage therapist. I'm just going to go to my chiropractor. And there's nothing wrong with those things, or my personal trainer, because they don't really know what PT is. Yeah. And that is the huge thing that's lacking, that needs to be made aware to these practitioners. And I love that talk that she said, is we need to stop referring to doctors as doctors and start referring to them as physicians. Mm-hmm. We need to be the doctors. We're fighting for direct access. We need to be the doctors, and we need to start marketing to the public, and so that we're sought out as the musculoskeletal providers, so they're not getting injections and medications and surgeries and having chronic issues that could be stopped, prevented, or cured with physical therapy.
Yeah. Well, and it's good now, because now, from a legal standpoint, at least most states, besides unfortunately,
not
saying it's you, but most states in general, they are finding that have adopted a form of direct access, which is huge. I mean, that legally gives us the ability.
Yes.
But now we have to take that and do something with it.
100%.
Well, Katrina, so where can people find you online, or if they social media? If they have any kind of follow-up questions or things for you?
Definitely. On Facebook, I'm Katrina Kneeskern. I have a page, The Purposeful and Passionate Provider, where I post motivational things, as well as on Instagram, I'm at Dr. Katrina 816.
Perfect.
And you can email me too at Kneeskern, which is KNEESKERN 816 @gmail.com.
Perfect. And all those links will be provided in the show notes for you guys if you just want to go swing down and take a look at them. But Katrina, thank you so much for sharing the story. It was very empowering. I hope that our listeners can take a lot of value out of it, because there's definitely some golden points in there that I think people should resonate. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for letting me be here.
Yeah, pleasure's all ours.
Podcast number 1.
There we go. Access to healthcare is one of the largest issues facing both providers and patients, as millions of people worldwide lack timely and affordable access to healthcare. Anywhere Healthcare, a telehealth platform, is a simple, low-cost option for providers and patients that eliminates the barriers to access to all kinds of healthcare. To find out more, check out anywhere.healthcare which is available in our show notes. And if you use the code HET in all caps when you email to sign up, you'll save 25% off the total cost. Thank you for attending class today, and we hope that you learned something and gained value from the content.
If you'd like to schedule office hours with us, feel free to add us on Twitter at HET Podcast, on Instagram, HET Podcast, on Facebook, the Healthcare Education Transformation Podcast, and the homepage, healthcareeducationtransformationpodcast.com.
And for those of you following along in the syllabus, extra credit can be obtained by liking us, sharing us, and leaving a review.
Let's continue our journey up Mount Educational Success as lifelong learners.